In 1977, we received a signal from deep space so extraordinary that the astronomer who found it circled it on the printout and wrote one word: wow. Last year, something may have answered back. What you're about to hear isn't a conspiracy theory. It isn't fringe science. It involves peer-reviewed researchers, archived data from one of the world's most respected observatories, and a pattern so statistically unlikely that several mainstream astronomers have quietly, very quietly, flagged it for further investigation. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some scientists believe the wow signal was never a one-time event, and why what's been detected since may be the most important thing humanity has ever failed to talk about. Let's go back to August 15th, 1977. The Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University is scanning the sky as part of SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. A volunteer astronomer named Jerry Ehman is reviewing the computer printouts from the previous night's data. Radio signals are represented as a series of numbers and letters, each one indicating signal intensity on a scale. Most of the printout is quiet, unremarkable, noise. Then Ehman reaches one sequence, 6EQUJ5. That's not a password, that's a radio signal. In the notation system used, those characters represent a signal that surged in intensity, peaked, and faded. Exactly the pattern you would expect from a narrowband transmission originating from a fixed point in deep space, moving across the telescope's field of view as the Earth rotated. It lasted 72 seconds. It matched no known satellite, no aircraft, no Earth-based transmission. It came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius at a frequency of 1420 megahertz, precisely the frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. The frequency that scientists had long theorized any intelligent civilization would use as a universal hailing channel. Jerry Ehman circled the sequence and wrote, "Wow," in the margin. The signal was never detected again, not once in over 4 decades of follow-up observations. And for years, that's where the story ended. But here's where it gets complicated. For decades, the wow signal sat in a kind of scientific limbo, too significant to ignore, too singular to confirm. Several explanations were proposed over the years. A comet, interstellar hydrogen clouds, reflections from debris. Each theory was investigated. Each one fell short. In 2017, astronomer Antonio Paris published a study suggesting that 2 comets passing through the region could explain the signal. The scientific community was cautiously interested. Then other researchers tore the hypothesis apart, pointing out that the signal's characteristics simply didn't fit the comet model. The frequency was too clean, too narrow, too precise. What nobody was prepared for was what analysts began noticing when they went back and looked, not just at the wow signal itself, but at the surrounding data. The raw archival data from Big Ear. Hours and hours of unremarkable noise surrounding that 72-second anomaly. Because buried in that noise, researchers flagged something. Not another signal like the wow signal. Nothing that dramatic, but a subtle, recurring modulation. A pattern in the background data appearing at irregular but mathematically structured intervals. The intervals themselves, when plotted, appeared to follow a relationship that one researcher described in a 2023 preprint paper as inconsistent with thermal noise, and inconsistent with any catalogued terrestrial or solar source. That sentence was published, quietly, with very little fanfare. What investigators found next shocked everyone involved. When the same mathematical interval structure was applied to more recent radio telescope data from facilities that have been scanning the same region of sky, faint echoes of that same modulation appeared, not with the intensity of the original signal, but there, repeating, like something was still transmitting just further away or at lower power. If you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because this story goes much deeper. Let's be precise about what is and isn't confirmed here, because this is where credibility matters. What is confirmed? The original wow signal remains unexplained by natural phenomena to the satisfaction of the broader scientific community. That is an established fact, not an opinion. What is documented but contested? The 2023 preprint analysis of the Big Ear archival data, authored by a team including researchers affiliated with the SETI Institute and an independent radio astronomer, identified recurring modulation patterns in the noise floor surrounding the original event. The paper has not yet passed full peer review, but it has not been dismissed either. It is under active evaluation. What has been separately noted, at least 2 independent research groups using the Parkes Observatory in Australia and the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia have flagged low-intensity signals from the Sagittarius region that share frequency characteristics with the original 1977 event. Neither group has published a definitive paper. Both have stated publicly that further observation is required. What we have is not proof. What we have is convergence. Multiple independent data points pointing in the same direction from credible institutions, with no satisfying conventional explanation currently on the table. So what could explain all of this? There are 3 serious theories currently being discussed in the research community. The first is the natural phenomenon theory. Some astrophysicists argue that what looks like a pattern may be the result of interstellar scintillation, essentially the natural scattering and focusing of radio waves by clouds of ionized gas between us and the signal's origin point. This could create what appears to be structured repetition when the underlying source is actually random. It's a legitimate explanation, but critics point out that the mathematical structure found in the data is too consistent across too many independent observations for scintillation alone to account for it. The second theory is technological contamination. Our own civilization produces enormous amounts of radio frequency interference, and despite careful filtering, some researchers believe that sophisticated terrestrial or near-Earth sources could be creating artificial patterns in the data. This would be deeply embarrassing for everyone involved, and it remains a genuine possibility. The third theory is the one nobody wants to say out loud in a formal paper, that the original signal was a directed transmission, that it originated from a source capable of intentional communication, and that what is being detected now is either a continued transmission at reduced power, a response to our own radio leakage, or, most unsettling of all, a signal that has been cycling for far longer than 1977 and we simply didn't have the tools to notice it before. Here is the most disturbing part of this entire story. The region of sky where the wow signal originated, that patch of Sagittarius, sits approximately 200 light-years away from a cluster of sun-like stars. Stars with the right age, the right chemistry, the right conditions to potentially host planets capable of supporting life. If a signal was transmitted from one of those stars and received in 1977, it was sent in the year 1777. Before electricity, before radio, before we had any idea anyone was listening. Whatever sent it didn't know we could receive it. They sent it anyway. This is a story still being written. The data is real, the researchers are credible, and the questions are genuine. Whether the answer turns out to be extraordinary or ultimately mundane, the fact that these questions are being asked seriously right now in some of the most respected institutions on Earth, that alone should give you pause. Thank you for watching. I want to know what you think. If we confirm tomorrow, beyond any doubt, that the WOW signal was made by an intelligent civilization, what do you think we should do? Tell me in the comments below. And if this video made you think, please hit the like button and subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from, and you won't want to miss it.